as the leadership battle for the soul of the African National Congress continues, we ask if President Cyril Ramaphosa has enough support in the party to secure a second term if his rivals unite behind Mkhize. Ramaphosa is leading the race with 2,037 nominations to Mkhize's 916. But his rivals said there is still time to consolidate behind the former health minister. Let's try and get more reaction now to these developments as we head to December the 16th. Tebogo Khaas, thank you very much for your time. A regular on this station talking political matters. It's good to have you on. Let me start with the opinion pieces that have been quite a number of them, in fact, in the past Sundays in the lead up to this conference. This past Sunday, though, was something slightly different, at least in my eyes, and that is, on the one hand, one opinion piece stating that it is time for a woman leader because those women have actually supported the campaigns of the many male presidents we have seen coming and gone. On the other hand, you have an opinion piece that talks about the lineup that we see of these top 6 nominees, and that is a reflection of a party that is running this state to the ground. Let's start with the women part, Mr. Khaas, and ask you the question, why is it that it appears the Women's League is its own worst enemy inside the ANC? And I say that because Batabile Dlamini told me just last week that a woman candidate was never nominated. Instead, the Women's League nominated President Ramaphosa to become president of the ANC again.
Paulie, thank you for having me. It is indeed a difficult hurdle, it appears, for women within ANC to actually ascend to the highest positions, being that of the president and deputy president. It appears. At best, they seem to be hovering around the deputy secretaryship, and it is indeed a concern. But it is something that I believe has got its own origins from the fact that it is common cause that women don't seem to support each other politically, even from branch level up to even the ANC, NEC level. I do not want to believe entirely that it's got to do with patriarchy entirely, but it is a fact that women don't seem to support itself as well. So that also lends itself to that, because if women by demographics constitute slightly more than 50% of the population, and I would assume I would extend it to the ANC membership, it should be a no-brainer that by now there ought to have been a woman who has ascended to being a competitor to some of the males who've assumed that position of ANC presidency. But it appears that women also don't do themselves any favors if you take the antics and approaches or pronouncements of the likes of Lindiwe Sisulu, for example, who seem to not be articulate or comporting herself in a manner that shows that she's capable of being leadership material.
When you say that, in fact, I would like for you to substantiate why you say what you are saying about Lindiwe Sisulu not helping the cause of women inside the ANC.
The kind of argument that she's been advancing, first of all, around the judiciary, and also the Constitution itself. From the Constitution, judiciary, land, and so forth. Those are fantastical arguments she's been advancing, things that not meant for anybody to be taken seriously. But of course, in the ANC, taking people seriously is the last thing. But it is also something that is in the back of anybody else's mind. That is it the type of leader that we would really want to put our lives behind? That is one thing. But also, naturally, women are most likely not to support each other. I do not know if this is a question for sociologists to tackle, but women don't seem to support each other insofar as ascending or having other women ascend to the top notch. And the ANC has not done itself any favor. In fact, I do support the acceleration of or the appointment of women in key positions, or this set aside, for example, 50% of the NEC to be constituted by women, for example. But it doesn't do much because it creates a complacency, because they would not go out to go and mobilize support for themselves, because you know that if you're a Lindwe, you are likely to be in the NEC because of the 50% rule. By extension, you assume that's going to be a case with the top six, and it doesn't happen to be that way because the NEC, the top six operates differently in terms of how it's elected. So there's no set aside of 50%. It is a concern. Women and men must both take shoulder blade, but from different vantages.
Yeah. Let's then come to the second element of my two questions to you. The other element has to do with the party that is running this government, and they are the party that is going to elect a new leadership. Mondli Makhanya of City Press, reflecting this past weekend, and he says, I quote now, "The lineup is a true reflection of the party that is running the South African state, or rather, the party that is running the South African state into the ground." We have so many ills in this country, Tebogo Khaas. We have the issue of corruption. We have joblessness. We have people who potentially are sick in the mind. I don't know if you were listening to the conversation I just had before I came to you, of a person openly propagating racism, that black men should be eliminated. That includes removing the uteruses of black women because they are the ones who help reproduce black men. We have the issue of race relations in South Africa that is just not improving. Is the ANC still the vehicle to drive the unity that we long for in South Africa?
Starting first with the piece that Mondli did, which is a brilliant piece, by the way. Mondli hits the nail on the head in the sense that what we see in government is the replication of how the ANC runs itself. And he's quite right that we've got men and women who seek to put their hands on the levers of government, whom we know that they've got clouds hanging on their heads, and yet ANC members don't see anything wrong with it. In fact, meanwhile, they're talking about renewal. For me, if you're going to be looking to elect as a leader of the ANC somebody who's likely, and highly likely so, to be charged for digital rights and be sent to jail if convicted, why is it that you are wasting your time trying to put that candidate or allow that candidature to stand? It is only because people are only self-serving and looking to save their own skin, which is why you'd find the likes of Zweli Mkhize without shame or without any sense of irony actually availing themselves for a leadership position. Because if he really liked the ANC or loved the ANC and certainly was patriotic, he would have declined any nomination, no matter how hard and motivation had been put for him to stand. So he would have stood. And indeed, it is true that the ANC is running itself to the ground, and it doesn't seem to be in a hurry to actually pull itself out of the morale, in the sense that the way it approaches the leadership of the organization seems to be devoid of the fact that it needs to elect men and women who will be able, without any blemish, be able to to ascend into the levers of government and be able to be trusted and have men and women of integrity running government. But that is the last thing on the ANC mind, it appears. It appears that the only people are there just to save their own skin and nothing else, and to serve themselves and nothing else. On the issue of the racist woman from Benoni, yes, I did listen to the tail end of your conversation. It is painful that you still live in a society where black men and women are regarded not even as second-class citizens, but even worse than the apes and baboons. Because what you see, it is a true reflection of the society that we live in. We may have passed it off the statute books come 96 or 94 with a new constitution. But secondly, we haven't done much by way of making sure that people understand and appreciate that the new democratic dispensation, in the new democratic dispensation, that we should not have any space left for such utterances as was attributed to this lady who had appeared in jail, in court today, I believe.
All right.
And to the extent that that is the case, it shows that society, both black and white, still have a long way to go. I'm still to read a statement or to see a statement from AfriForum, from the Institute of Race Relations, or any of those entities castigating this type of behavior by their own. And yet, let it be a black person saying something not even to this magnitude. You will see them rallying and galvanizing society and telling the whole world that South Africa is not open for, or is not a place that is conducive for white people. So it is indeed something that is a concern. It means when I walk in the street and meet a white person, in my mind I'll be telling myself, she probably think I should be dead, or she probably think my girlfriend, my wife, my sister, my daughter should be, operated upon and her uterus removed. So it is a concern.
Tebogo Khaas, let me thank you very much for your inputs here. He is a political analyst, Tebogo Khaas, talking to us there in the lead up to the ANC National Conference.